Ah, how do you do? Alright, so I guess this is a
book review!
Today we're breaking down and reviewing a book that'll leave you downright depressed for the next several days. You're welcome. A book, in my opinion, which rivals the tale of the Lord of the Rings. And that book is The Children of Húrin, written by j.r.r. himself and his son Christopher Tolkien.
If you really come down to any large story that interests people, can hold them attention for a considerable time, or make stories, practically always, human stories, practically always about one thing, aren't they? Death. The inevitability of death.
There will be spoilers, so venture on at your own risk. Off the bat, let me just give you a taste of how dark Tolkien gets in this tale. It's got incest, talking evil swords, talking evil dragons, naked elves, and of course, Morgoth!
So when the great foe Morgoth destroyed the very light of our home. Bye-bye!
Anyway, and that's just scratching the surface. The only issue is that some people may find this book to be not as narratively colourful as, say, The Lord of the Rings. It's more telling you what happens rather than you actually, being immersed in it. This wasn't an issue for me. I was still able to vividly imagine what was going on. And what also helped was the beautiful artwork that accompanied the book throughout. Each chapter had its own artwork. Really helped bring the words to life. I love books when they include the pictures in it. I think it just amplifies it, makes it so much better. It shouldn't just be basically exclusive to kids' books. I mean, I love the pictures. Now, before we break down The Children of Húrin, you should know that this is a tragedy. You'll find no happy ever afters here. This does start with a somewhat prologue, a backstory of the anti-hero's father, who notably was a great warrior, but also described as a short king. His name was Húrin, if you didn't guess by the title. The first chapter delves into the childhood of Turin, the protagonist, and surprise, surprise, was seldom joyful. Anyways, he lost his 3-year-old sister by a wind plague that Morgoth created just because why not? Then his dad Húrin has to go off to war. This is the last time father and son get to hang out with each other. But Húrin does leave Turin a dragon helm, an heirloom of their lineage, which by the way is filled with a ton of symbolism. I can see Freud and Jung rolling the grass with this one. Which is also interesting because the real villain of the story is a dragon named Glurung, the father of dragons.
I want my dragon!
You know who's into dragons, Morty? Nerds that refuse to admit they're Christian.
I want my dragon!
Important side note, the spirit of Morgoth dwelt within him like how the ring was filled with Sauron's spirit. Anyways, Húrin goes off to war, an epic battle ensues, followed by an epic loss. It was biblical. Morgoth has his boys compile a hill of the slain. Húrin was the last one standing and slayed many orcs. His streak meter must have been crazy. Húrin eventually gets captured and taken to Morgoth. Now this is where things really start getting interesting. You have a mortal man in a verbal duel against this godlike being. They insult one another until Morgoth rage quits and curses Húrin's family. Insert title card. Now back to the sun. Turin and his homeland Dolomin, which has now become hostile with invaders called the Easterlings. Remember those guys? They begin to take over. Before things get worse for Turin and his pregnant mother, like being turned into slaves, Turin is sent off to live in a far-off elven kingdom called Duraith. The departure is the first sorrow of Turin, and I quote from the book here. Then the anguish of parting smote him like a sword, and he cried, Morwen, Morwen, when shall I see you again? Spoiler alert, he doesn't. Also, he was 8 years old at the time. Truly brutal. Turin and these two other old dudes travel for a very long time through the wilderness, to the point of starvation. But Morgoth's curse keeps them alive. And it just so happens that a hunting elf party stumbles upon them. The leader's name is Beleg Strongbow. He's important later. My boy Beleg immediately knew that Turin had a great destiny to him, and that he would grow up to become a mighty warrior. Turin's now safely in the Elven Kingdom, ruled by Thingol and Melaine, two characters which appear in the story of Beren and Luthien, another novel that's held in high regard amongst hobbit heads. After puberty strikes Turin, he throws on the dragon helm, grabs a sword and defends the borders of Duraith, with his partner in crime, Beleg Strongbow. Cue epic montage.
You will not enter Gondor.
At some point, Turin returns to the kingdom for some well-needed rest and replenishments. But during a council meeting, Turin accidentally rage baits an elf named Seiros by sitting in his chair. How dare he? That's Seiros' special seat. Anyways, Seiros does a your mama joke and Turin throws a bottle at his head. Next thing you know, Turin's chasing a naked Seiros through the woods at sword point. Seiros, being absolutely out of his mind, runs off a cliff and dies, just when Turin was going to let him go. The curse of Morgoth manifests. The onlooking elves are shocked but try to reassure Turin that it was an accident. But Turin rage quits and flees. During his travelling exile, a band of low-level outlaws ambush him. Turin kills one of them in self-defense and is accepted as a member. He quickly climbs the ranks until he becomes the captain. His stats are truly on another level. Turin was living the simple criminal life, stealing food and living in the wild. Really just living off the fat of the land. There was a bit of drama though when Turin accidentally kills one of his men who tried to rape a woman. Besides that, Turin wants to upgrade both the numbers of his men and their moral code. So they travel further into the wild to hunt orcs.
Let us hunt some orc.
And for Turin to establish a base and become a self-made lord. It would be a riches to rags to riches kind of tale. As Turin and his bad boys journey through the wilderness, which by the way is infested with orcs,
throat cutters. There'll be dozens of them out there.
They realize that they are being tracked. They have a stalker. They do their best to cover their tracks, but nothing seems to be working. Turin and a background character go scouting ahead. But they get pinned by orcs and have to stay hiding for some time. Meanwhile, the stalker gets revealed. Who was it? Orcs? Morgoth? Your local member of parliament? No, it's Beleg Strongbow. He walks right up to them, hands up, saying he comes in peace. But the boys aren't having it, and tie him up to a tree. They starve him for a good few days or so, to teach him a lesson on respecting people's privacy or something. Turin finally makes it back and is not impressed. But my boy Beleg quickly heals and he tries to convince Turin to return and that he's been pardoned so they can get back to slaying orcs. But Turin's not having it. He's moved on to better things now. With the mission failed, Beleg Strongbow returns back to the king and unlocks a new sword, Anglechel, forged by Earl the Dark Elf, using iron from a meteorite. Yes, this is Middle-earth, by the way. He's also given lembas bread. Remember that?
Lembas. Elvish whey bread. One small bite is enough to fill the stomach of a grown man.
How many did you eat?
4.
And so Beleg goes to seek Turin again, but this time to join with him. Beleg is someone everyone needs in their life. Now, we turn our attention to the bad guys. Let's flip it, go!
So when the great foe Morgoth destroyed the very light of our home. Bye-bye!
Morgoth unleashes Glorung for a secret assignment. Ooh. Turin and his band of merry men find some dwarves. At the time they didn't know. And one of the boys no-scopes 360s one of the dwarves. And they manage to capture another one, which turns out to be the dad, named Mim. Once they make the dwarf agree to show them where their base is in a rock mountain, the dwarf is very unhappy about his son being headshotted, but allows Turin and the boys to stay there. Over the course of this sitcom, Mim and Turin become besties. Finally, Beleg Strongbow shows up, and now Turin and Beleg are besties, kicking Mim off to the side. One day, the dwarf finds a group of orcs and hatches a plan to kill the men and the elf. A bit of house cleaning. All goes to Mim's plan. The orcs attack and kill all the men. Turin is captured to be taken to Morgoth. Mim tries to kill Beleg, but a background character kills the dwarf. And my boy Beleg escapes. He goes on a quest to free Turin and succeeds. However, because Turin's been tortured and is also out of his mind, he thinks that Beleg is an orc and kills him with the evil sword, Anglachel. Interesting to note is that the sword becomes darkened and blunt from grief. Keep that in mind later. And Turin becomes depressed. Aww. He eventually finds himself in a new elven kingdom named Nagathrond. Turin becomes high status there and gets his sword upgraded and renamed Gurthang. He also liked hanging out with the elf princess. She loved him, but Turin wasn't interested. Truly a Sigma. Anyways, two messengers arrive with a warning from the ocean god Elmo to keep the kingdom hidden and not to fight Morgoth, which is the very thing that Turin wants to do. And so the king listens to Turin, and they build this epic indestructible bridge for the elf army to cross and fight. This is when Glorung makes his cameo, along with an army of orcs. A battle begins and the dragon just annihilates them. But he's there for Turin. Glorung, with the power of his eyes, freezes Turin and taunts him about how he has left his mother and sister to rot in Dol Lomin, Turin's hometown. Meanwhile, the elf princess gets taken away. Once Glorung lets Turin go, Turin speedruns to Dol Lomin to find his family and save them, leaving the princess to the orcs. Not cool, man. Not cool. When he finally gets there, he realizes that the dragon has tricked him because his mother and sister are currently safe in that elven kingdom, Doraith. Stay with me. He goes on a long goose chase to find them, but gives up and then goes to find the elf princess, which he then learns that she was killed by the orcs. Yikes. At this point, Turin gives up on everything and travels far away to live in a town named Brethil. He throws on a new identity, calling himself Turumbar, and leaves everything behind for a simple life. I don't blame him.
I'm a simple man making his way through the galaxy, like my father before me.
Anyways, his mum and sister go looking for Turumbar, because they're worried sick. And with the help of a group of elves, they come to Nagathrond, where Glorung waits for them. Then he strikes. This part of the book is honestly my favourite. Listen to this. Then he drew her eyes into his, and her will swooned. And it seemed to her that the sun sickened, and all became dim about her. And slowly a great darkness drew down on her, and in that darkness was emptiness. She knew nothing, and heard nothing, and remembered nothing. Absolutely epic. Anyways, everyone becomes lost. The mom tragically calls out to nothing, the elves get scattered, and Naonor, the sister, that's her name, bolts into the wilderness like a crazed deer. And just by chance, she makes her way to Turambar, and she falls in love with him. She also gets a new name, Nainol, which means weeping or something. Before you know it, Turin and her marry, unknowing of the fact that they're related. Ugh.
He kissed his sister.
Sure, you'd think that they would think that they look similar or something. But hey, this is basically Game of Thrones at this point. Anything goes. Anyways, she gets pregnant, and at that moment, word gets out that Glurung is making a move. Also, side note, Glurung, being the father of dragons, doesn't have wings. Brother just walks everywhere. So, Turin's got time to plan, and plan he does. A bit bold, one might say. So then, Turin gives a motivational speech to the people of Brethil.
You're killing machines. Move forward with the intention that you're going to kill.
And is able to get 2 guys to volunteer. Not bad considering the high risk factor. They make it to the spot, but they got to cross this rapid river. There are rocks, but still very dangerous. And which so happens, one of the helping hands slips off a rock and dies. And then, once the dragon gets there, the second background character gets struck by a rock that fell off from its belly, which is above them at this point. So yeah, he gets smited, and dies. Now it's just Turin versus Glurung. The epic showdown. It's now or never. Turin climbs up the cliff, grabs his sword Guthang, and stabs the dragon. The sword goes completely inside its belly, to the point of the hilt. And us hobbit heads know that a dragon's belly is a major weak point.
What did you say?
Glurung wiggles and shakes, and eventually dies. Or so we think. But Turin is wrecked from this, getting dragon blood on his arm, which is boiling hot, bringing his health bar down to 1. He needs a revival. And that's what happens. Nainor, his sister wife, shows up, because again, she was worried with grief. She thinks Turin's dead, but still tries to heal him. You know, the classic tears, kisses, and a bit of a wrapped cloth. But wait, Glurung's not dead. Hail Nainor, daughter of Húrin, we meet again ere we end. I give you joy, for you have found your brother at last. And now you shall know him, a stabber in the dark, treacherous to foes, faithless to friends, and a curse unto his kin. Turin, son of Húrin, but worst of all his deeds you shall feel in yourself. How sinister is that? Thus, Glurung, the father of dragons, dies, and in so doing, breaks the spell, and all Naenor's memories return to her. Bewildered, she runs away and jumps off a waterfall, and most likely dies. And at this point, Turin awakes, bandaged and confused. He sees the wrapped cloth, but not the healer. So he makes his way back to the town for the cheering of the crowd. But that's not what he finds. Instead, he finds Brandir the Lame, a character I've forgotten to mention till now. He was a cripple, but the leader of Brethil, and also a simp for Nainor. There's so many name switch-ups, it's hard to keep up. Brandir watched everything that went down. Nainor mending Turin, Glurung's last words to her, and sadly, Nainor jumping off the waterfall. So the cripple is not too happy about all this and just rips into Turin. He spills the tea to Turin, telling him that he got his sister pregnant, and this is Turin's response. Then Turin grasped Guthang, and a fell light was in his eyes. And what shall be said of you, clubfoot? He said slowly. He said calmly. Who told her secretly behind my back my right name? Who brought her to the malice of the dragon? Who stood by and let her die? Who came hither to publish this horror at the swiftest? Who would now gloat upon me? Do men speak true before death? Then speak it now, quickly! After a few back and forths, Turin loses it, and
then he lifted up Gurthang and hewed Brandir and smote him to death.
Turin rushes to the waterfall to see if he can find Nanor and see if it's all true, which it was. But out of nowhere, a group of elves show up. They double confirm what's gone down by informing Turin that they've been tracking Nanor. At this point, Turin loses his. Anyways, he returns to the dead dragon, retrieves his sword, Gurthang, and a quote from the book.
Hail Gurthang, Iron of Death, you alone now remain. And what lord or loyalty do you know, save the hand that wields you? From no blood will you shrink? Will you take Turinbar? Will you slay me swiftly? And from the blade rang a cold voice in answer. Yes, I will drink your blood, that I may forget the blood of Beleg my master, and the blood of Brandir slain unjustly. I will slay you swiftly.
Talking swords! And thus Turinbar, son of Húrin, stabs himself to death. No plot armor for this one. The elves find Turin's body and bury him in a mound. They also put this huge stone tomb on top, and carved upon it is written,
Here ends the tale of children of Húrin, longest of all the lays of Beleriand.
With the death of Húrin's family, Morgoth releases him, who's been alive this whole time and forced to watch the tragic lives of his children. But Morgoth doesn't release him out of the kindness of his heart. This is to further add to the torment, the cherry on top, if you will. He's finally able to operate in the world, but it's all too late. Morgoth grants him safe passage, and Húrin finally makes it to the burial of his children. His wife waits for him there, Turin's mother.
You come at last, she said. I have waited too long. Little time is left, she said. If you know, tell me. How did she find him? But Húrin did not answer, and he sat beside the stone with Morwen in his arms. And they did not speak again. The sun went down, and Morwen sighed, and clasped his hand, and was still. And Húrin knew that she had died. The end. Woo, that's a wrap.
You read the whole book.
No! Basically.